What's up, guys? This is Cash Shake, Chairman, CEO, and co-founder of Baseball United, the first professional baseball league in the history of the Middle East and South Asia. And you're watching the Legends on Deck podcast with my boys, Brian Koss and David Condi.
Also, something that's not as talked about much in the minor leagues, and I was having this conversation with somebody earlier this week, that it's not just about the top prospects to win at the minor league level. Like, the top prospects are going to help you win at the big league level, for sure. But it's your other guys that you're getting to, that you're surrounding with those pieces. Your undrafted free agents, your international signings that may not end up being big leaguers, but are going to be serviceable ball players. Those pieces are really, really important too. And I think that's been really, really good around this entire organization the past few years.
Welcome to episode 90 of the Legends on Deck podcast. I'm Brian Koss, along with my co-host, David Condi. Today's guest is a broadcaster with the Flying Tigers organization of the Florida State League. He's a graduate of Michigan State University, where he currently also works as a broadcaster for the MSU basketball team. After graduating college, Zach worked in broadcasting and communications for the Detroit Tigers and the Detroit Red Wings before taking on his current role in Lakeland and at MSU. Zach Surdenik, welcome to the Legends on Deck podcast.
Thanks for having me, guys. Excited to be here.
Thank you for being here. We're excited, and one of the reasons is when we started this website when I started back in 2015, the main focus was the minor leagues. That's all we wanted to do. I got into the writing on websites thinking that I would cover the Major League Baseball, and I fell in love with the minor leagues. So moving forward, like Brian came on, and we started to really focus more and more on the minor leagues. So anything that we can, especially Florida State League, I think we've been to a few of the games. We did all-star games, so it's truly great. Well, it was great when it had high A ball. I mean, it's still great with low A ball, right? You still got great ball players coming through. But the league has seen so many great ball players come through, and to be able to be in Florida and cover them, I think it's been a blessing for us as well, as with Legends on Deck, to really see us grow with the minor leagues. So that's what we're excited to have you on. But before we get started with that, kind of give us a little backup. What brought you into the game? Did you play baseball? Did you what made you go into this part of the game?
Yeah, so I played baseball all the way up through high school. Both me and my brother did. My dad was a baseball coach. He still coaches baseball, plays in men's league stuff. And so I grew up always around baseball. I played other sports too. I played a lot of basketball as well, but it kind of was always something going on. Everything in my life was sports for a long time. My dad also ran a sporting goods store. So like we were around sports 24/7 all the time. And it has always been really everything to me. And so being able to be around the game was really important to me. In terms of getting into this side of it, my mom used to always give me crap about playing video games as a kid and kind of calling the action over or whatever. But I never really knew this was something that I could get into as a career until I was probably a junior in high school, and I was kind of looking at some things here and there, like trying to figure out, as most people do at this point, trying to figure out what in the world I want to do. And so I came across a program of this type of thing, of sports broadcasting. It wasn't at the school that I went to, and it wasn't even a school that I really considered, but I came across that and I was like, oh, this is something I can do. And so then I started to look into it more. And when I was a senior in high school was when COVID hit. And so it just kind of flipped a switch. Everything was all of a sudden done. We were our first week of practice for baseball. And then they were like, we all kind of knew the last day, we were like, yeah, we're not playing. And then they canceled everything. And I kind of gave myself a little bit of time where I was just like, man, this kind of sucks. But then I was able to grow from that because I didn't allow myself just to kind of sit there because I knew that if I let myself do that, then I would, and there would be nothing good to come out of it. And so instead, I really pushed into this industry and into the broadcast side of things. I ended up interning with a local team in the Northwoods League in collegiate summer ball up in Michigan, and I did a lot of little things for them, a lot of like camera work, a lot of social media stuff that I wasn't expecting to do, but it's COVID, and so plans changed. I was hired on as a PA guy, and then things moved a little bit, and so then. But at the end of the year, I ended up getting to fill in for a few of their broadcasts, and that was before I got to Michigan State, and then really jumped in for Michigan State and never looked back. It's been a blast. There's been a lot of really cool opportunities. I've been blessed to get to do a lot of really good things and really cool things at a young age, and it's been a lot of really fun spots.
Very cool. You mentioned that you spent some time doing collegiate summer ball. You said in the Northwoods League, but you also mentioned, I think, when we were talking, you interned in multiple leagues.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, so I'm pretty familiar in that space. I'm here in Florida,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm involved in the Florida Collegiate Summer League as the assistant GM for the Winter Garden Squeeze down here.
Nice.
So tell us, tell me about the teams that you worked with and the leagues you worked in, the
Mm-hmm.
experiences you had, because the collegiate and summer ball leagues really give, from a communication standpoint, a lot of hands-on experience to really just get into the whole, basically every aspect of a ball team.
Yeah, they were huge. So I mentioned I spent that summer in Battle Creek in Kalamazoo. It was kind of weird because it was COVID and there were pods and I was only
Yeah,
kind of half
yeah.
there. Knowing what I know now, though, I would never have even come close to getting anything like that if not for COVID. Coming out of high school with no experience, I called them and I said, "Hey, do you need anybody?" And they said, "Can you start tomorrow?" And I said, "Great." And so that was not it was not something that I would have gotten at that point, but it really helped me because it gave me little things and helped me to get started earlier. And then I spent 2 summers in the Coastal Plain League working for the Tri-City Chili Peppers out in Richmond, Virginia. They're the ones now that have kind of blown up a little bit with like the cosmic baseball stuff with the glow in the dark
Yeah, yeah.
thing.
That's
They
cool.
weren't doing that when I was there, but it hasn't surprised me at all. They're really great people down there. The owner, Chris Martin, is great. Um, and so my first year there, I was their number 2 broadcaster, working with a guy named TJ Wangert, who then left to go to the University of Lynchburg, a D3 in Virginia. And then so the next year I came back as the number 1. But the reason that I went there as a number 2 over another spot that I was looking at again in the Northwoods League was I did all the road games by myself because he had a day job and so he wasn't able to travel. And so I got 9 innings of reps on all the road games. And then the second year I did pretty much all the games solo. There were a couple of games where we had a couple guys that filled in with me, but it was pretty much solo and it was just go. And it was a great experience for me because the 2 years I was there were the first 2 years they were a team. And so I was able to build that department up, which was really, really valuable for me to be able to kind of learn how to do those things and learn from scratch and try things out. And credit to Chris, he was always like, yeah, let's try it. We were, by the end of my second summer, we were miking up players in center field and I'm having a conversation with them in the middle of the inning. Um, and things are going on and we're doing things that you don't usually see from collegiate summer leagues like that. And we were able to grow with those and do those things. And we won some awards for it in the league and that was great. But it was just really cool to be able to build things up with that. So I really enjoyed my time out there. And then after my junior year at Michigan State, I went to the Cape. I was out on Cape Cod. I worked with the Falmouth Commodores out there, and that was an awesome experience. As pretty much anybody will tell you that's been up into the Cape League, it's a gorgeous area, and it's the talent out there is insane, both on the field and honestly behind the scenes too. Like the broadcast side of it, you work with a ton of talented people. My broadcast partner Matt Venezia is now killing it as a sports anchor in Baton Rouge, covering LSU. Our sideline reporter won the Lisa Byington Award for the top female sportscaster in the Big Ten at Penn State, and she is sports reporter somewhere that I can't remember. I'm sorry, Destiny, but she's great as well. And then there's just all the other teams had great people too, and so it was really really cool working out there. And all 3 of those gave me some different things that helped me to be able to grow. They're obviously different business models too. Like the Coastal Plain League, those
Right.
teams are for-profit organizations, like they're businesses. So I'm working with sponsors and getting reads in and doing all these things. And then on the Cape, everything's nonprofit. And so
Yep.
like the games are free. It's all like, it's just a very, very different atmosphere. And so being able to work in both of those spheres, I think really helped me as I was coming up through the collegiate summer ball and just getting reps. I mean, reps are key in this industry and really in anything, but especially in this industry, you got to get more and more reps and get yourself out there and try things. And so, yeah, it was great working in college summer ball.
Yeah, it's really cool to hear because yeah, it's funny because it's almost like you're broad what you're describing as a broadcaster in that space is the same thing that the players are
Hmm.
experiencing, right? The players go play summer ball for the reps, right? For
Hmm.
the opportunity to better themselves over the course of the summer so that when they go back
Hmm.
to campus in the fall and into the spring, they're prepared for the next season.
Hmm.
So it's cool to see, for all the anybody out there listening that is looking at in the college space and looking for an opportunity to break into the industry like you have. Um, I think that the college summer ball experience from a broadcasting standpoint is a really solid one.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, you get to do everything that you're doing today, probably as in the minor leagues, the same way that you practiced all that
Hmm.
during those summers.
Yeah. Yeah. It just kind of keeps expanding from there. And but it was a huge to set the foundation there for sure.
It's
That's
like
awesome.
isn't it like minor league baseball, right? The player has the comes from high school. I mean, you follow the same path as a ball player, and now you follow the path as a announcer, right? Announcing the game, so you almost can kind of grow with the player. Eventually, maybe you can continue to go. Maybe they go a little further than you in the beginning, but maybe you catch up to them and end up seeing them at the big show.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I've kind of been thinking about that a little bit now that I've been in this for a while. Like this year, the first player that I've worked with and gotten to know through this made it to the big leagues this year. And so that was kind of cool to see. Ben Williamson is up with Seattle, the third baseman there, and he was on that Tri-City Chili Peppers team my first year there. Ben's a great guy. I saw him again out on the Cape. He was with a different team that I was working for. But no, and so yeah, you really do see that and you notice that and you build those relationships as people come up. As I mentioned before we started recording, like there's so many different paths in this industry, and so things are kind of weird. Like I've taken a path that kind of seems linear to this point. It hasn't necessarily felt linear, but it has kind of seemed that way. Whether that'll continue, we'll find out. But yeah, it's really cool to kind of see those things, and you build relationships with people just in a lot of different ways. Like I'm really huge on relationships. I think that's so important to telling stories. You can't tell good stories without building those relationships. Because if I just met you and I want to talk to you and get to know you versus somebody that if I've known you for 2 years or for 6 months or whatever, you're going to I'm going to get a better story, even in passing, than if I just meet you and put a recorder in your face. And so that's really, really important to me. And those relationships are huge.
That's something that Brian and I talk about all the time. I think, I've been doing this since 2013, and I started out with the Mets website. Everyone knows my story. I'm gonna go into it, but I built a relationship with ball players just by being real with them and just supporting them on their journey. As you know, being around minor leaguers, it's not an easy life to have. I mean, you're pretty much working. They're working their butts off, with no guarantee of anything. And the pay
Hmm.
was a lot worse back then than it is kind of a little bit better is right now. So you're
Hmm.
right, building that relationship with the ball players and letting them know the real side of you. They know that once you support them and they see the real support, then they could be your best friends. And I have many guys in the game that have made to the majors, and it's just truly important because, like I said before, that road that they take it's a hard road, and I mean the road that you're on, there's no guarantee either. But you're willing to stay in the trenches to get all that experience you have, and then maybe someone will hear you and say, "Hey, this is a great guy. This is a guy that we want to be a part of our organization as well."
For sure.
You know, so kind of leading into my next question, which is almost a perfect segue. Um, the Tigers have the currently number one farm system in the league, right? You have some great names out there. You mentioned one name before you go to the majors. So, being that you get to follow them and everything, kind of share with our audience who are some of the rising stars that you've seen so far in Lakeland?
Yeah, I'm excited for this question. So obviously Bryce Rayner's the big name, but with his injury, he's out for the year, and so that takes a hit there to the Lakeland order a little bit. But there have been some guys on this year's team that I don't think people know as much about. Franier Montilla is got a chance to be legit. Switch hitting shortstop, really, really good glove. He's starting to hit a little bit. He had 10 hits in the series in Fort Myers, just won Florida State League Player of the Week announced today. Homered from both sides of the plate during the series. He's got, he came up and is known for his glove, but he just turned 20 years old. And he was the Tigers Florida Complex League Player of the Year last year on their championship team in the FCL. And he is somebody definitely to keep an eye on. And I mean, he's not like some buried secret. He's a top 15 prospect in the organization, but he's got a real shot to be really good. He's electrifying. He's stolen 21 bags. And you just never know what you're going to get in any given moment. Like whenever he's on the field, he's going to make plays. And the bat is continuing to come around. And as it continues to come around, you're going to hear more and more of that name. Because he's so young and he's got a lot of tools. A guy that I don't think most Tigers fans know about at all would be a guy like Garrett Pennington, who has 8 home runs this year. He's he's a exit velocity machine. He can really swing it. I think he's got the second best average on the team this year, and he's top 10 in the Florida State League at like 280 among qualified hitters. He can swing it. Christian Santana can swing it. He just had 5 homers in 5 games this past weekend. He's been in Lakeland for a while, but I keep having to remind myself he's still just 21 years old, even though he spent parts of 4 different years with the Flying Tigers. And so those guys are good. And then on the pitching side, Josh Randall was the top pick last year. He's had a couple of really good starts in a row. The numbers won't look as good from this last start. He got the loss on Saturday, but he had one inning that there was a 1-out error in the 5th, and it kind of spiraled, and he gave up a few runs. 1-out error, then a bunt single, and then a couple other things that didn't go his way. But before that, he had thrown 11 innings, given up 1 run with 10 strikeouts and 2 walks in his previous 2 starts. He's building. Back-end bullpen guys have been pretty impressive, too. Moises Rodriguez is a name people are going to hear. Throws 97 to 99, the heavy sinker, and some good breaking ball stuff. So those guys are all guys to keep an eye on for sure. And there's plenty more guys that are coming up. But off the top of my head, those are guys that I think of that I'm excited to see where they continue to progress to, because they've definitely been really strong for us this year.
And
that's great.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
David knows. I mean, I'm a Tigers fan, so I do track the system fairly well. But I know a few of those names you mentioned, and I don't know a few of those names. So I'm definitely going to look a little closer at some of those names you mentioned. Do you just thinking about it from an organizational standpoint? The Tigers are doing something in in their minor league system. You know, from the Flying Tigers to the Whitecaps to the Seawolves to the Mudhens, everybody has a winning record. And as far as I could tell, Erie, you guys, and the Whitecaps have all clinched a first half playoff spot.
Correct.
So,
yeah.
what do you have any insight into what the Tigers are doing from a developmental standpoint to really just put it together?
I mean, I think just the entire organization's in such a good place right now with the way that everything has gone the last couple of years, and you can look at it from a lot of different ways, but there's just been so much things together. I can't really speak for too much.
Yeah.
Well, I can't really speak specifics, but I also can't really speak for too much of the past because I just joined the Tigers organization. I mean, I grew up on the outside watching, but in terms of what I've seen this year, I can say it's just everybody's on the same page, and that's so key. And then obviously the player acquisitions and the stuff that they've done at the highest level and then all the way down to the drafts the last couple of years. There's been a lot of really good prospects that have come in from the draft. You look at Max Clark, Kevin McGonigal, Bryce Rayner, like those guys are all really, really high level players that have come in recently. And so that is something that you can see and helping to go, but also something that's not as talked about much in the minor leagues. And I was having this conversation with somebody earlier this week that it's not just about the top prospects to win at the minor league level. Like the top prospects are going to help you win at the big league level for sure. But it's your other guys that you're getting to, that you're surrounding with those pieces, your undrafted free agents, your international signings that may not end up being big leaguers, but are going to be serviceable ball players. Those pieces are really, really important too. And I think that's been really, really good around this entire organization the past few years. And I can't say enough about how impressive it's been, even for me, like as somebody who's inside the organization, just seeing everything the last couple of years and just being like really impressed with the way that everything has come together, and the way that things have gone.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, and it got me thinking too. It's like the nice thing for the Tigers right now is because the big league club is playing so well, there's really no pressure to bring guys up too quickly, right? So like there's like you look at like an organization like the Red Sox who have now like pushed all their top prospects into the big leagues, right? I mean, maybe they're ready, maybe they're not, but a lot of organizations are bringing up prospects right now, and but there's more pressure on them to do it, right? Because they're either trying to revamp their big league club, they're trying to get them reps in the big leagues, or whatever that reason is. Everybody's got their own justification for it. But then Tigers, because they have some of the highest ranking prospects in baseball, but there's no pressing need to say, hey, we got to move this guy through the system quickly, get him up to the big leagues, and see what he does, because the big league team is on its own doing really well right now.
Yeah, you allow your prospects to force you to make a move, is what it kind of seems like. You can allow that to do over time, and you see that with other really healthy organizations, the Yankees, the Dodgers, like those teams. Obviously, those teams are a little different than everybody else because they go buy people.
Yeah.
They go buy they reload all the time. But that's what winning teams are doing, is reloading, and it doesn't necessarily have to be through spending all the money. It can be, but it can also be through drafting and through acquisitions and through building a healthy organization. And that's been a lot of what the talk publicly from the Tigers have been. If you read through and see some of those press conferences from Scott Harris and some of the interviews he's done, talking about the job is to win now and in the future. And the Tigers are setting themselves up pretty well to be able to do that.
Yeah.
I like the point he made earlier as well, because me and Brian are always looking for that minor leaguer that no one knows about, right? Let's write an article about that minor leaguer and give him a platform. He's doing great. No one's really paying attention, and it's cool that you guys are winning. Where you're not really, like you said, focused on the top prospects, but you have other guys that are filling in that role, other guys that are showing off their skills, and maybe next year maybe they get on the radar. Maybe they're the ones that the organization looks at and says, wow, we didn't realize he was this good of a ball player. We're gonna have to throw him on the have another top prospect. Because that it shifts every year.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good to see that an organization is actually building within, and it shows. Right, you guys are showing that the hard work put in is now coming to fruition with the ball players playing so well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree. It's exciting to be it's a good time to be a Tigers fan, and it
Yeah.
hasn't been for quite a while. Um, so I'm gonna shift gears a little bit,
Yeah.
back to you.
Okay.
And we discussed this just before you came on the show. You said you're 22 years old, right? Um, when you worked your way through college. I know you're also doing broadcasting on the basketball side for MSU, which
Mm-hmm.
is a huge role considering
Yeah.
how successful and big the MSU basketball program is from
Mm-hmm.
just a viewership standpoint, a
Yeah.
marketing all that. I mean, MSU basketball is huge.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then so you seem to have taken a path that where you're not afraid to put the work in, like, you mentioned some of these pieces that you or philosophy that you've had, but what would your advice be to other kids, maybe that late high school kid or that kid entering college that wants to kind of go in the direction that you're in right now, or
Mhm.
trying to land that first job, or what things should they be doing or thinking about?
Yeah, so I've got a few things on this, I think. The first one
Yeah.
I would say is don't be afraid to talk to people. Like, connect with people, but don't connect with them in a way that you're trying to get something from them. Like, I'm going to talk to this person because they may give me a job later. Don't think like
Yeah.
that. Like I talked about it earlier, relationships are so key. One thing I told myself that I was going to do when I was covering Michigan State as a student. My senior year, I covered Michigan State basketball as a student. The 2 years before that, I did the football on the student radio, but I did basketball my senior year. And so on the basketball side, we have as media access to the court, and the TV crews are calling the game courtside. And so I decided, and it doesn't always look like this, obviously, but I decided I was going to go introduce myself to the TV crew for every game. And some of those relationships are good relationships. I still talk to some of those people. And some of them, I talked to them for 30 seconds and I've never talked to them since. But
Yeah.
you don't know. And you start to build those relationships, and those people can be helpful. And then use the, not use is not the right word. Continue to build on those relationships and take advantage of the people you have around you. Like, let them help you and ask for help. I mean, Dan Dickerson has been a huge help for me in the Tigers organization. His wife, LA, is one of the sports journalism professors at Michigan State. She's amazing. Dan's amazing. And so I've been around Dan for probably 5 or 6 years now. He's been a big help to me. But even as I'm getting into this, I will still send Dan some stuff and be like, hey, can you listen to this? Let me know what you think. And I'll do that with all sorts of people. Like, they will do that. And now I'm kind of glad. It's kind of been cool recently because I have kind of gotten to the point where I've had some people send me some stuff and they're like, hey, let me know what you think about this. And gladly, because people have helped me and people still help me. And I want to help people as much as I can. And so if anybody is interested in broadcasting and listening to this, you can reach out to me on Twitter, whatever. My DMs are open. I'm glad to talk with anybody about this. The other things I would say, I've got two more, and if I'm going long, you can cut me off.
No,
Don't
you're
worry.
good.
But
This is why we want to hear it, man.
yeah,
We run into kids in this
yeah.
space sometimes and we want to help them out.
And
So,
so I would say get reps. Find a way to get stuff done. I just talked with a high school student last week that just actually sent me this tape, and we were talking through it while I was in Fort Myers. But he is trying to get into this, but he doesn't have any experience. And so, what I suggested for him to do is one, just practice. Like, most kids my age are playing video games, playing sports video games. Call the game over while you're playing it. I did that growing up. I do it now. I still do it. Not as much during the season because I've got 100+ games and my voice can't take it. But still, like, do that stuff because you just get practice doing things. But you have to record it and you have to listen to it sometimes because you want to know what you like and what you don't like. And listen to other broadcasters that way too. Listen to the game and be like, hey, I really liked the way they did this, or I didn't like the way that he said this. And so take those things and keep them in mind, and you can pick up inspiration from different people at different times and bring things through. And then obviously there's a lot more nuances that come with all of this stuff, but just continue to get reps and then seek feedback from those reps. Because obviously that's practice makes perfect. That's great, but you don't necessarily want to practice bad habits. And so seek feedback on those things. I This is a very subjective industry. There are a lot of people, like, I can send one clip to 5 different broadcasters and they're going to give me 5 different responses on it. And that's because everybody likes and dislikes different things. There are some basics that you want to get down. Active voice, make your tenses right, things like that are basic stuff, but that is there everywhere. But besides that, a lot of people like different things. Be authentic. That's huge. I mean, I think of like Eric Collins, the Hornets announcer. If people try to be Eric Collins and they're not Eric Collins, it's going to be really obvious because Eric Collins is unique. He's very out there, very energetic, but that's who he is. And that's huge. And when you can be that, then you've got to be that, but make sure that you're yourself. And then the last thing that I would say that is something that I always tell myself, and it's really helped me because this can be a tough industry. Like, as much as you might not think it, the travel can get difficult. The other things can get difficult. Like, it's not always as glamorous as you might think, but take a second to enjoy what we get to do. And that is huge for me. Like, I remember I told myself this when I was first doing, I mean, I had told myself it a few other times before, but I remember the first men's basketball game I did for Michigan State on Big Ten Plus during the exhibition. So it was like the TV side, I'm doing the game. I remember just telling myself I walked out of the tunnel with about 10 minutes before we went to air, and I just kind of look around. And it's a full Breslin Center. And just taking in the moment. I remember doing the same thing when we were at the Peach Bowl for Michigan State when I was a sophomore in 21. Just realizing, like, hey, this is really cool. Like, the things we get to do are really cool. I've gotten to travel the country covering high-level teams. I've gotten to do a lot of different things, and it's just getting to take those moments in is so important. And so when it gets hard, don't forget that this is fun. Like, enjoy it, have fun with it, and just let yourself enjoy things because the student industry can get hard. The job cycle is not fun. It's difficult to find positions in this industry. They're extremely competitive. You get a minor league job that gets posted for 2 days and there's 300 applicants for one position already. Like, it's really difficult to get into this industry. But enjoy what you're doing. And especially if you're a student, like if you're going to school for this, take advantage of the student media because you may never, I mean, it worked out for me that I'm back covering Big Ten athletics right away. But I remember having this conversation when I was a junior with my old boss, Brendan Shabath, who is now at the University of North Georgia doing athletic comms there and really good broadcaster as well. But we had the conversation because he was about to graduate and he was like, take all of this in because we may never get back to this point. It's not guaranteed that you're going to get back to. And when we were talking about it, he was headed to New York to do the Sweet 16. And so he's like, I'm going to Madison Square Garden and call the Sweet 16. You may never get back to this point ever. And so take it in and enjoy it. And that's something that has always been really big for me. And even at this point, like now, like I'm not where I want to be eventually in this business. Like I want to continue to grow. But with that being said, I get to do a lot of really cool stuff. I'm covering Michigan State basketball, traveling with them, and then doing the games in the Tigers organization in Lakeland and continuing to grow and progress. And that's been really, really huge. But just taking it all in and soaking up as much as you can because you never know what's going to happen next.
Well, I gotta say that's great advice. You are a man, so it's such a young person. You sound like you've been in the industry for 30 years, but I think that's great advice for the kids coming in. I have to say though, when I do play the MLB this show, I do call the games myself. I just don't record it.
Hey, I don't know that I said record it. I don't know that I've ever actually recorded myself calling a video game. When I was very first starting, I recorded myself a couple of times. I went back and did some old NCAA tournament basketball games and recorded them. But my situation worked out to where I was able to get on the air because of COVID without that.
Yeah.
But without a global pandemic, it's a lot more difficult to get. If you're at a big school like I was, Michigan State's not like a sports journalism powerhouse, although they do have a good program. It's not Arizona State, it's not Syracuse, but I was able to use the stuff that I got on the air through COVID to get on the air quicker.
Yeah.
But if you don't have any of that, with how competitive this industry is especially at a bigger school, it's tougher to get on the air without it. But no, it's fun, man. Dan Dickerson always described it as it's a bug. You'll catch the bug for this stuff, and it is so fun to just keep doing it, and you just got to get more, and it's a blast.
Well, you can hear you got a good voice for it, so it's good to have
I appreciate it.
Good clear
Thank you.
voice. You know, that really portrays out and really gets you excited to listen to the game. So
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, I thought the early part of what you said too, just like putting yourself out there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's really like most industries, I think, are that way nowadays, where you have
Yeah.
to really network your way through things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but your job as a broadcaster, as someone calling games, is to be social.
Mm-hmm.
So like you're the guy that everyone is going to listen to
Yeah.
when they're tuning into a game.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not going to be conversational and you're not going to be somebody that like who is, right? So
Yeah.
that that is it might that role might not be for you if you're not willing to do those things. Um,
Yeah.
that was a really good point. I mean, it's one thing to want to call baseball games or basketball games or whatever, but it's another thing to like get yourself in the situation to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so that's very good advice, and it's good to hear too that what you were saying about other people in the industry, people that it sounds like
Mm-hmm.
just from what you've been telling us people that you've worked with over the years, you've connected with, you've
Mm-hmm.
worked alongside. You're not doing it just because, oh, like this guy might help me out, but
Right.
you're like getting to it's a byproduct of that,
It
right?
has to be. Yeah. You
So
have
it's
to
like
find a
you're
way.
connecting and you're just, doing your job, being friendly, asking good questions, being
Mm-hmm.
involved, doing the extra work. And by that, they're like, oh, this guy, he's got talent, he's got ambition, he's gonna, he's a guy that we would like to see pushed forward. So I thought that was very constructive.
Yeah.
Um, in terms of yeah, like I said, if you're not social and you're going into that, you might want to get social or find something else
Yeah,
to
and
do.
you gotta find your way to get over the nerves too, because like that statement from me came from the fact that the year before I had a couple opportunities and I was nervous and didn't do it because I didn't want to bother anybody or anything like that. And so that came from something where I kind of forced myself to stick to this because I wanted to do that. And like I said, the majority of them, there are only a couple of people that I met through that I like talk to outside of like, oh, I just saw this guy. Like
Sure.
most of them I'll talk to if I see them again. Like I see Kevin Kubler a lot. He does a lot of Michigan State stuff on Big Ten Network and Fox. Um, and he's a great guy. And like people like that I build those relationships with that I see a ton. And then there's some other people that like I'll talk to outside of it. Like there's a few of them that will just talk sports or whatever, like not broadcasting, just having conversations because those are things that you do and just the ability and just like I don't I don't mean to like name drop when I'm saying those names. I'm just trying to give them like credit for helping me because they've been
Absolutely.
really helpful. Um, and so I really appreciate what they do and what all those people that have everybody that's helped me coming up has been really big because it's an industry that's not easy to get into, especially because it's an industry that in some ways has a lot of people that come into it from surrounded by other people that have done it. And for me, that wasn't necessarily the case. Like I didn't grow up in a family of broadcasters. Like, I mean, obviously there's Joe Buck and the Carey family, who their youngest generation, a couple years older than me, both of them are extremely talented, Chris and Stefan. And like those people, they come up through the pipeline basically. And I didn't come up through that. Like I found my way into this industry. And so being able to work with people and have them help be willing to help me has been so huge. And I'm forever appreciative of that.
That's awesome. I think you have the right mindset where you want to go with this. Just having the right people behind you, and I think you're pretty much going to be an inspiration for other guys at your age and see what you've accomplished. So we have one guy in our team, Vincent. He's an intern with us right now, and basically, this is the round world that he wants to get into, and he's definitely gonna have
Mhm.
to watch this so he can get an idea.
Yeah.
What are the steps? Because like you said, this day and age, once you're in the organization, you don't want to get out because it's so much harder to get back in. So the key is to stay in, take the licks, take everything they give you because the end of it, you can continue to grow. You can grow with an organization. Like you said, there's so many different ways to do that. So
Yeah. And the other thing that I haven't mentioned that I'm not very good at and I'm working on myself is in today's era, social media is so huge. Like
Mhm.
if you can build your own brand, you make yourself valuable. I had a broadcaster one time tell me when I was talking to him about trying to break into minor league baseball that for the most part, when you get into the professional side of this industry, everybody can call a game.
Mm.
What else can you do?
Mm.
At the minor league level. At the big league level, you're pretty much just calling the games, right? But at the minor league level, there's a lot of other things going on. You're doing a lot of other things. So you're helping with media relations, or you're doing photo. Like he talked, his example was one guy that he worked with was one of the best photographers he had worked with, or other things like that. What else can you bring on top of just the broadcast? And I'll be honest, when he first said that, I was like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what else I'm bringing. And as I grew, I think I realized that there's a few other things that I can bring. And alongside the storytelling, I've now got a bunch of experience in media relations and things like that. But in general, like social media, being able to build a brand and being able to sell yourself to people is really, really huge.
Mhm.
And that's something that is, again, something that I'm working on myself. I'm still trying to get better at it, but it's something that like if people are trying to break into this industry, social media is a huge way to do it and a big advantage if you're good at it.
Are you able to maybe put yourself out there in other realms? Like, you have Instagram and X where, yes, we hear you, but can you take that version of you and kind of put it more to help build your brand? Can you do that?
Theoretically, I mean you can. Can I? I'm working on it, but but
Yeah.
yes, you definitely can. And TikTok's really big too. Um just building a guy that's done that really, really well. That's a good example of that is Carlo Jimenez. He is the Los Angeles Clippers radio broadcaster. He came out of USC a couple of years ago. He's in his second year with the Clippers, and I think he's 23 or 24. He is one of the best I've seen on social media, and he's always been really good. He's a phenomenal broadcaster, but he's extremely good on social media too, and that helps him immensely. He is very engaging. He's very good at editing, and he just finds a way to always do that stuff, and it's helped him so much. And that is definitely a way you can take from it. There's another USC guy, Jack Smith, that just graduated from there. That's really good at it too. And so those guys, the more you can do on social media, the better.
Yep, I agree with you. So kind of looking forward, I mean, the Tigers, you said, I mean,
Yeah.
sorry, the Flying Tigers
Hmm.
have, clinched the midseason divisions. What are you looking
Hmm.
forward to more towards for this season? I mean, obviously, the being in a championship game will be probably an
Oh
exciting thing,
yeah.
but what are you looking forward this season?
Yeah, I am excited for the playoffs. These guys have a chip on their shoulder. For those that don't know, last year Lakeland was in the playoffs and they came one game short. They lost in the final, like, because it's best of three series. They lost in game three of the championship series after a 3 hour rain delay in the first inning that burned their top starter. And so there's a lot of guys on this group that were on that team at the end of the year last year that feel very strongly about getting back and finding a way to win it. But there's also a lot of movement. I mean, the draft's coming up in a couple of weeks. We're going to get new guys in. Guys are going to move up, and just continuing to see how all of that plays out is really exciting for me. It's interesting because of the fact that we have clinched a playoff spot.
Hmm.
And so, like, the second half, I think, is more probably going to be more player development, like focused on my broadcast, talking about like what guys are doing and getting better at and what we're seeing that way rather than standings wise, because the win loss record in the second half doesn't mean anything for us. We already have, I mean, obviously, besides you want to continue to build that winning culture, which you see up and down the organization, and guys don't like losing games anyways. All these guys are competitors, but you have Lakeland has already clinched home field advantage all the way through the playoffs because if you win the first half, you get it in the first round, and then this championship series flips by division every year, and it's our division's
Mm.
turn to host. And so we will host game 2 and 3 if necessary of all the playoff rounds that we make it to. And so that part's already clinched. Now it's just trying to dial things in, continue to get better as a team and for these guys and see where things end up. And I'm just really excited to kind of get to continue that and get into the playoffs and get going. This is my first year in pro ball as a broadcaster. And so I'm excited to see where all of that plays out.
That's cool. I know Brian's excited to see if they can take the lower level, even the higher level could take the championship this
Yeah,
year.
man,
That'd be
all
nice
the way
too.
through, all the way through. And I know that after, well, like I said, I'm very involved in the collegiate league over here,
Hmm.
um, which will wrap up sort of at the end of July, third week
Hmm.
of July. So uh we'll be in touch. I'll definitely be out to Lakeland, probably
Love it.
late July, early August.
Love it.
Yeah, for
Well,
sure.
eventually the Mets will catch up. Maybe the Mets will be with you at the end.
Hey, they won their first half too. They won the East. The St.
Oh, there
Lucie
you
Mets
go.
did. So
Well,
St. Lucie and Lakeland are the two teams that clinched in the first half.
so that would be something I could root for if my other team, the bigger guys, can't
Yeah.
can't can't figure themselves out. So
Man, when St. Lucie was in Lakeland this year, they had the top three in the order were a bunch of rehab guys in that. They had Jeff McNeil was down, Francisco Alvarez was down, Drew Gilbert was down. Jared Young was on that. They had a loaded lineup when they played in Lakeland back in April.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I've witnessed one St. Lucie Mets team years ago when they had a bunch. I forgot what I'm gonna age myself, but it was a while back, and they had this. They had Nemo was on there, TJ Rivera was on there, Cam Marin,
Okay.
Dilson Herrera, and I mean those four right there were like, man, line drives all over the field. It was just an amazing squad.
Hmm.
And then when they move up, you're like, oh man, I'm getting cheated. Like what? Like don't
Yeah.
move up, don't
Oh
leave
yeah,
yet.
it happens. Yep, for
So you're
sure.
gonna have a lot of like kind of ups and downs, like as a second half as a broadcaster, you're gonna have to be like, okay, well, with this guy left and this guy left and he got moved up and these guys are
Hmm.
coming in. So you almost have to like memorize. You probably just got used to the roster you have, and you're gonna have a whole new,
That's
potential, not a whole new, but a lot of
yeah.
shuffling around.
That's where that college summer ball experience helps a lot because that happens
Yeah,
so
good
much in
point.
college ball. And also on the other side of it, yes, these guys are leaving and I'm getting used to new guys, but it's also new stories to tell. So I'm
Exactly.
excited
Yeah.
for it.
Great point. Great point. Well, Zach, we really appreciate you taking the time with us today. I know
Yes, of course.
this is your off day in the league, and the life of a minor league broadcaster and minor league baseball player is not it's not
Hmm.
an easy one. It's a lot of days and a lot of prep
Hmm.
and a lot of work. But thanks for taking time here on your off day to talk with us about your experience.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me. We're excited to keep things going. So
Yeah, and like I said, we'll be out. I'll be out for sure. I'm about 45 minutes from Lakeland, so
love it.
um, I'll be hanging out at the ballpark later in the summer. Um,
Love it.
Yeah,
and a
yeah. I
couple
don't
of
know.
other things,
Do you have
David.
any trips to Fort Myers coming up, Zach?
We just left Fort Myers
Yeah.
yesterday.
So you don't have any more?
Um, I won't be making the trip to Fort Myers. Lakeland makes the trip in the end of July for 3 days, 25th, 26th, 27th, I think,
Okay.
on a weekend because it's three in Lakeland and three in Fort Myers. But
Wow.
but I don't think I'll be making that trip.
All right. So you and me, Brian. I'll catch you next season.
All right. Hey, maybe in the
Absolutely.
playoffs. Maybe Fort Myers will make the playoffs. They took two of three from us to start the second half. But we won the series because we took the beginning games. But yeah.
Yeah. We'll see how the season pans out.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Should be fun to cover. Couple last things. Just our merch shop, Legends on Deck gear, our social media accounts.